Captain Ji-hee Kim stood on the bridge of the TDS Incheon, watching the distant stars through the main screen. Far away, beyond what human eyes could see, three great powers were destroying each other in a war that had lasted 15 years. The Valkyrie Empire, the Helix Confederation, and the Nomad clans fought over every planet, every star system, every piece of space they could find. "Any new signals today?" Ji-hye asked her tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun Lee looked up from his console. "Same as yesterday, Captain. More battle reports from the Vega sector. Looks like the Valkyrie just took another Helix world." Ji-hye nodded slowly. Every day brought news of more destruction, more death, more worlds burning in the endless war. The three powers had been fighting for so long that some people forgot what started it all. They just knew that millions died every month, while the galaxy tore itself apart. Earth watched it all from far away, like a child watching adults fight. The human world sat in its quiet corner of space, ignored by the great powers who had bigger things to worry about. That was exactly how Admiral Hyunwoo Park wanted it. "Chief Engineer So-young Choi to bridge," came a voice over the comm system. "Go ahead, Chief," Ji-hye replied. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange energy readings from our long-range sensors. Might be worth taking a look." Ji-hye walked to the engineering station where So-young was studying her screens. The young engineer had been with the Incheon for 3 years and knew her equipment better than anyone. "What do you see?" Ji-hye asked. "These readings don't match any of the usual battle signatures. Too organized, too planned. Usually when the big powers fight, it's messy. This looks different." Do-hyun joined them at the console. "Could be a new weapon test. The Nomad clans have been working on some kind of planet killer, according to our intelligence reports." The three of them studied the data in silence. Earth's ships were not as fast or as powerful as the alien vessels, but they had good sensors. Admiral Park made sure of that. He wanted to know everything that happened in nearby space, even if Earth couldn't do anything about it. Back on Earth, Admiral Park sat in his office at Terran Defense Command, reading the daily reports. Every morning brought the same story. More fighting, more death, more calls for Earth to join one side or another. Every morning Park gave the same answer. "No, sir. Ambassador Tae Min-yoon is here to see you," his aide announced. "Send him in." Taemin walked into the office looking tired. The ambassador spent most of his time dealing with alien diplomats who treated him like a child. The great powers saw Earth as a joke, a backward world with primitive technology and simple people. "How did the meeting go?" Park asked. "The same as always," Taemin replied, sitting down heavily. The Valkyrie representative laughed when I mentioned our desire for peace. He said humans are too stupid to understand real politics. The Helix ambassador was more polite, but he made it clear they think we're wasting everyone's time. Park poured 2 cups of coffee and handed one to Taemin. "And the Nomads?" Their speaker didn't even show up. Sent a junior officer who spent the whole meeting looking bored. This was normal. For 15 years, Earth had tried to stay neutral in the Galactic War. For 15 years, the three powers had ignored or mocked human attempts at diplomacy. They saw Earth as irrelevant, too weak to matter, too far away to bother with. That was fine with Admiral Park. Let them think humans were weak and stupid. Let them focus on destroying each other while Earth prepared for what might come. Dr. Yoon Jung-han worked late in her laboratory, studying the latest intelligence reports. As Earth's top expert on alien biology and behavior, she spent her days trying to understand the three powers that ruled the galaxy. What she learned kept her awake at night. The Valkyrie were warriors who believed in strength above all else. They enslaved weaker species and used them as soldiers or workers. Any race that couldn't fight was considered worthless. The Helix Confederation claimed to be civilized, but they were just as brutal in their own way. They absorbed other species into their collective, wiping out individual cultures and identities. They called it unity, but it was really just another form of slavery. The Nomad clans were pirates and raiders who moved from system to system, taking whatever they wanted. They had no permanent homes, no lasting alliances, and no mercy for anyone who got in their way. All three powers had one thing in common. They saw other species as resources to be used or obstacles to be removed. Dr. Han had spent years studying their methods, their technologies, their weaknesses. She knew that one day, Earth would need that knowledge. On the bridge of the Incheon, Jihai received a priority message from Admiral Park. All ships are to maintain current patrol patterns, continue monitoring alien communications, report any unusual activity immediately. The message was routine, but Jihai could read between the lines. Park was worried about something. The war was changing, getting worse somehow. Intelligence reports suggested that all three powers were running low on resources, getting desperate. Desperate enemies were dangerous enemies. "Captain," Do-hyun called from his station, "I'm getting reports from the outer sensor posts. Looks like there was a major battle in the Ross system yesterday. The Valkyrie lost an entire fleet." Jihai frowned. The Ross system was only 50 light-years from Earth. The war was getting closer. Any survivors heading this way? Negative. Looks like the Helix forces destroyed everything. That was how the war worked now. No prisoners, no mercy, no second chances. The three powers had been fighting so long that hatred was all they had left. Earth remained neutral, but neutrality was becoming harder to maintain. Admiral Park knew it, Ambassador Yoon knew it, and Dr. Han knew it. The galaxy was running out of space for peaceful worlds. In her laboratory, Dr. Han finished reading the latest reports and made a note in her personal files. The pattern was clear to anyone willing to see it. The three powers were not just fighting each other anymore. They were preparing for something bigger, something that would involve every world in the galaxy, including Earth. The war had lasted 15 years, but Dr. Han suspected it was about to enter a new phase. A phase where neutrality would no longer be possible, where every world would have to choose a side or be destroyed. She hoped Admiral Park was ready for what was coming. She hoped Earth was ready, because ready or not, the war was coming to them. The alarm bells rang across every human ship and station in the solar system. Captain Jihai Kim rushed to the bridge of the TDS Incheon, still putting on her uniform jacket. The duty officer met her at the command chair with a face white as paper. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Commander Do-hyun Lee said, his voice shaking. Long-range sensors picked up massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Something big just jumped in. Jay looked at the main screen and felt her heart stop. 200 ships hung in space like metal vultures, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. The smallest vessels were the size of Earth's biggest battleships. The largest ones looked like floating cities bristling with weapons that could crack planets. "Get me Admiral Park immediately," Jihai ordered. The communication came through within seconds. Admiral Park's face appeared on the screen, grim and determined. Behind him, Jihai could see the controlled chaos of Terran Defense Command as officers ran between stations, coordinating Earth's response to its first alien invasion. "Captain Kim, I need your ship to maintain surveillance position," Park said. "Do not engage. Do not approach. Just watch and report everything you see." "Understood, sir." "What about the other ships?" "All vessels are pulling back to defensive positions around Earth. The aliens haven't made any hostile moves yet, but that will change soon." As if Park's words were a signal, the alien fleet began to move. The massive ships spread out in a formation that surrounded the inner solar system. Smaller vessels broke off from the main group and headed toward Earth's orbital stations. "Captain," Chief Engineer So-young Choi called from her station, "I'm reading incredible energy signatures from those ships. Their power output is 10 times what our best ships can manage." "And their weapons?" Do-hyun asked. "Enough firepower to turn Earth into dust," So-young replied quietly. The alien fleet took positions around Earth like a noose slowly tightening. Then the communications started. War Commander Thex Valdris of the Valkyrie Empire spoke in perfect English, his words transmitted to every human receiver in the system. His voice was deep and harsh like metal scraping against stone. "Primitive humans of the third planet," the alien commander began. "I am War Commander Valdris of the Valkyrie 5th Battle Fleet. Your world has been chosen for integration into the Valkyrie Empire. You have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Submit now. And some of you may be allowed to live as workers in our mines and factories." The message continued, describing in detail what would happen to Earth if humans refused to surrender. Cities would burn, Oceans would boil. Every human military installation would be destroyed from orbit. The population would be reduced to manageable numbers and shipped off-world as slave labor. Your species has remained neutral in the Galactic War, Valdris continued. This was a mistake. Neutrality is weakness, and the weak serve the strong. You will join the Valkyrie Empire or you will die. On Earth, Admiral Park convened an emergency meeting of the Terran High Command. Defense Minister Jae-sung. Oh looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet's positions and shook his head. Admiral, we have 37 ships. They have 200. Our biggest gun couldn't scratch the hull of their smallest destroyer. This isn't a fight we can win. Colonel Minho Jang, commander of the Terran Marine Corps, slammed his fist on the table. So we just give up? Hand over our planet to alien slavers without a fight? I'm not saying give up, Oh replied. I'm saying we need to be realistic. Maybe we can negotiate, find some middle ground. Dr. Yoon Jung-han had been quiet during the argument, but now she spoke up. There is no middle ground with the Valkyrie. I've studied their methods for 15 years. They don't negotiate. They conquer. Any species they consider weak gets enslaved or exterminated. She activated a holographic display showing Valkyrie occupation zones throughout the galaxy. They've done this to 47 different worlds. Every single one followed the same pattern. Surrender, slavery, and eventual extinction, when the locals are no longer useful. Park studied the data while the other officers argued. The Valkyrie fleet was enormous, powerful, and positioned perfectly for orbital bombardment. On paper, Earth had no chance of survival, but Park had been preparing for this day for 15 years. Dr. Han, what about the other powers? Will they interfere? Unlikely, Han replied. The Helix and Nomads are both fighting major campaigns right now. They might even be happy to see the Valkyrie waste resources conquering a primitive world like Earth. Lieutenant Yu-jin Jang, Colonel Jang's daughter, spoke from her position at the communications console. Sir, we're receiving thousands of messages from civilian leaders. They want to know what the government plans to do. Park looked around the room at the faces of Earth's military leadership. Some showed fear, others anger, but all of them were looking to him for answers. Has anyone considered that maybe they're right? Defense Minister Oh asked quietly. Maybe we are just primitive humans. Maybe the smart thing is to surrender and hope for the best. The best? Colonel Jang shot back. You heard what they said. Slavery and death. That's the best we can hope for from these monsters. The argument continued while the clock ticked down. 72 hours seemed like a long time until you had to decide the fate of an entire species. On the Incheon, Captain Kim watched the alien fleet through her ship's sensors. The Valkyrie vessels moved with deadly grace, each one taking position for maximum tactical advantage. She could see weapon ports opening, shield generators charging, and smaller ships launching what looked like reconnaissance drones. They're preparing for bombardment, Do-hyun observed. Look at those firing angles. They can hit every major city on Earth simultaneously. Captain, So-young called out, I'm picking up energy buildups in their main guns. Whatever they're planning, it's going to be big. The reconnaissance drones spread throughout the solar system, mapping human defenses and cataloging targets. The Valkyrie were thorough in their preparation, professional in their approach to conquest and genocide. Back on Earth, the emergency session continued through the night. Intelligence reports came in hourly, each one painting a grimmer picture than the last. The Valkyrie fleet was even larger than first estimated. Their weapons were more powerful. Their shields were stronger. Admiral, Ambassador Tae Min-yoon said, I've been trying to contact other neutral worlds, looking for support or advice. Most of them won't even answer our calls. The few that do just wish us luck and cut communication. What about the species that survived Valkyrie occupation? Park asked. Dr. Han shook her head. There aren't any. The Valkyrie don't leave survivors who might cause trouble later. They use a species until it's no longer useful, then eliminate it entirely. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about conquest or slavery. This was about the complete destruction of human civilization. With 12 hours left until the deadline, Admiral Park made his decision. We fight, he announced simply. Defense Minister Oh stood up immediately. Admiral, with all due respect, that's suicide. We can't win against a fleet that size? Maybe not, Park replied. But Dr. Han is right. Surrender means death anyway, just slower and more painful. If we're going to die, we die fighting. Colonel Jang smiled grimly. What are your orders, sir? Signal all ships to take defensive positions. Prepare for combat operations, and get me a direct line to the Valkyrie fleet. The final message from Earth went out exactly 72 hours after the first alien transmission. Admiral Park's face appeared on screens throughout the human fleet and across the Valkyrie battle group. War Commander Valdris. Park said calmly, "You offered humanity a choice between slavery and death. We choose neither. Humanity chooses to remain free." The transmission ended. For a moment, space was silent. Then the Valkyrie fleet opened fire. The first Valkyrie energy beams lanced toward Earth like spears of light, each one carrying enough power to level a city. War Commander Valdris watched from his flagship as the primitive human world prepared to burn. Then something impossible happened. Massive defense platforms suddenly appeared around Earth, rising from what looked like empty space. Asteroids split apart to reveal hidden weapons installations. The platform's shields flared to life, absorbing the Valkyrie bombardment like it was nothing more than flashlight beams. "What in the void?" Valdris muttered, staring at his tactical display. His sensors showed dozens of installations that hadn't been there moments before. "How did we miss those?" His tactical officer's voice was shaking. "Sir, our scan showed nothing but empty space and small asteroids. These platforms, they weren't there before." "Everything was there before," came a calm voice over the communication channel. Admiral Park's face appeared on the Valkyrie command screens. "You just weren't smart enough to see it." The hidden platforms opened fire. Streams of projectiles shot from the orbital installations at impossible speeds. The railgun rounds, designed by Chief Designer Sung Ho Kang over 10 years of careful planning, punched through Valkyrie shields like paper. 3 alien destroyers exploded in the first volley. On the bridge of the TDS Incheon, Captain Ji-Hai Kim watched in amazement as Earth's true defenses revealed themselves. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids for years suddenly came online. Ships that her sensors had never detected began broadcasting identification signals. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Do-Hyun Lee called out, his voice filled with wonder. "I'm reading over 300 human vessels in the system. Where did they all come from?" "They were always here," Chief Engineer So-Young Choi said, studying her instruments. "Look at these stealth signatures. Some of these ships have been sitting right next to us for months, completely invisible." The truth hit Ji-Hai like a physical blow. Earth's fleet wasn't 37 ships. It was hundreds. The Terran Defense Coalition had been building and hiding vessels throughout the solar system, waiting for exactly this moment. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," came the fleet-wide communication. "Weapons free. Execute Plan Fortress. Hidden missile installations across Earth's surface open fire. Fusion warheads streaked toward the Valkyrie fleet in swarms, their paths calculated to overwhelm alien point defense systems. Underground bunkers that had been disguised as ordinary buildings revealed themselves as massive weapon platforms. War Commander. Valdris felt his confidence evaporating as his fleet took hit after hit from weapons that shouldn't exist. The humans were supposed to be primitive, backward, weak. Their technology was supposed to be centuries behind Valkyrie standards. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count," his tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are cutting through our shields like they were designed specifically to counter our defenses." They were. Dr. Woo Jin Nam, head of the Terran Research Division, had spent 15 years studying captured alien technology. Every piece of wreckage from distant battles, every intercepted communication, every diplomatic encounter had provided data. Humanity's weapons weren't just advanced, they were specifically engineered to kill. Valkyrie ships. The TDS Incheon received new orders and suddenly began moving faster than its official specifications should have allowed. The ship's stealth systems engaged, making it nearly invisible to Valkyrie sensors. Ji-Hai realized that even her own vessel had hidden capabilities she'd never known about. "Captain Kim," Admiral Park's voice came over a secure channel. "Take your squadron and engage the enemy's left flank. Use attack pattern Delta 7. Squadron?" Ji-Hai asked, confused. "Check your tactical display." Ji-Hai looked at her screens and saw 12 other ships forming up around the Incheon. They'd been there all along, hidden in the ship's sensor shadow, invisible until the moment they were needed. On the surface of Earth, Commander Haewon Shin climbed into her Aegis-class powered armor for the first time in combat. The massive mechanical suit stood 15 feet tall and carried enough firepower to level a building. She'd trained in simulators for years, but this was real. Aegis 1 to all units, she said over the suit's communication system. Valkyrie ground forces are attempting to land in Sector 7. We're moving to intercept. The Valkyrie had dropped their elite assault troops near the major cities, expecting to face primitive human soldiers with simple weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting mechanical giants that moved like dancers and hit like lightning bolts. Haywan's first target was a Valkyrie dropship trying to land in downtown Seoul. She jumped over a 20-story building, her armor's jump jets carrying her through the air like a missile. Her shoulder-mounted railgun fired once, and the alien ship exploded in a ball of flame. "This is impossible," the Valkyrie ground commander transmitted to his fleet. "These humans have technology that rivals our own. How did our intelligence miss this?" Because Earth had wanted it missed. For 15 years, while the galaxy tore itself apart in war, humanity had been preparing. Every diplomatic mission had been a chance to study alien technology. Every trade agreement had included hidden scanning protocols. Every refugee that Earth had quietly helped had provided information about the great powers' military capabilities. Ambassador Taemin Yoon hadn't just been ignored by alien diplomats. He'd been quietly recording everything he saw and heard. Dr. Yoon Jung hadn't just studied alien biology. She designed weapons specifically to exploit alien weaknesses. The Valkyrie fleet found itself caught in a carefully planned trap. Earth's hidden fleet attacked from positions that cut off escape routes. The orbital platforms provided covering fire that made it impossible for the aliens to concentrate their forces. Ground-based weapon systems eliminated any ship that tried to get close enough for effective bombardment. "Sir," the Valkyrie tactical officer reported to Valdris, "we've lost 60 ships in the first hour. Their weapons are incredibly accurate, and their defenses are adapting to our attacks in real time." Valdris stared at the tactical display, watching his mighty fleet being dismantled by opponents he'd dismissed as primitive. "How is this possible? Our intelligence showed them to be decades behind us technologically." "It appears our intelligence was wrong, sir. Wrong didn't begin to cover it. Earth's primitive technology was actually highly advanced, just built using different principles than the galactic powers understood. Instead of trying to match alien technology piece for piece, humans had developed their own solutions to the problems of space combat." Captain Kim's squadron tore into the Valkyrie left flank, using tactics the aliens had never seen before. Instead of standing and trading shots like traditional space battles, the human ships moved in 3 dimensions, using the solar system's gravity wells and asteroid fields to their advantage. "Their ships are faster than our specifications indicated," Do-hyun reported. "And their weapons have much longer range than we expected." "How long range?" Shi-hai asked. "They're hitting us from beyond our sensor range. It's like they can see through space itself." They could. Humanity's sensor network wasn't just the ships and platforms visible to alien scanners. Hidden relay stations throughout the solar system provided complete battlefield awareness. Every human commander could see the entire battle in real time, while the Valkyrie fought blind. The tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. Valkyrie ships that had seemed invincible an hour before were now burning wrecks drifting through space. The alien ground assault had been completely destroyed by Haywan's mech units. War Commander Valdris made the hardest decision of his military career. All ships, retreat to jump distance. Prepare for emergency withdrawal. But even retreat wasn't going to be easy. Earth's hidden fleet had positioned itself to control all the jump points out of the system. The humans weren't just defending, they were hunting. "Valkyrie fleet," Admiral Park's voice came over the general communication channel. "You came here to conquer Earth. Instead, you've learned that humanity is not as primitive as you believed. You have one chance to leave alive. Surrender now, and we'll let your survivors go home." Valdris looked at his remaining ships, less than half the fleet he'd brought to destroy a backward world. His pride warred with his survival instincts. "This isn't over, human," he transmitted back. "The Empire will send a larger fleet. You cannot hide your strength forever." "We're not hiding anymore," Park replied. "Tell your Empire that Earth is no longer neutral. We're picking a side in this war. And we're picking our own." The surviving Valkyrie ships jumped away, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. Earth, the primitive world that everyone had ignored, had just defeated one of the most powerful fleets in Valkyrie space. Humanity was no longer neutral. Humanity was at war. 3 weeks after the Valkyrie fleet limped away from Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood in the command center watching star charts that showed the entire galaxy. Red markers indicated Valkyrie territory, blue showed Helix space, and yellow marked Nomad clan hunting grounds. Green dots marked the free worlds that had started joining Earth's growing alliance. Admiral, Ambassador Tai Min-yoon reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from 6 more systems that broke away from Valkyrie control. They want Earth's protection," Park nodded. News of humanity's victory had spread across the galaxy, faster than the speed of light. Oppressed worlds everywhere were rising up against their alien masters, inspired by Earth's example. "What's our fleet status?" Park asked. Captain Ji-Hai Kim, newly promoted to Commodore, stepped forward. "We have 400 operational vessels, with more coming online daily. The shipyards are working around the clock to build new ships and refit captured Valkyrie vessels. And our new allies? 17 different species have sent ships to join our fleet. They're not as advanced as our technology, but they know local space and they're highly motivated." That was putting it mildly. The aliens who had joined Earth's cause fought with the fury of people who had nothing left to lose. Many had seen their homeworlds burned, their families enslaved, their cultures destroyed by the 3 galactic powers. Dr. Yoon Jung-han entered the command center carrying a datapad filled with intelligence reports. "Admiral, I finished analyzing the Valkyrie ship we captured. Their technology is impressive, but it has serious weaknesses we can exploit. Show me." Han activated a holographic display showing the inside of a Valkyrie warship. Their ships are fast and powerful, but they rely too heavily on centralized control systems. Destroy the command center and the whole ship becomes nearly helpless. This was exactly the kind of information Earth needed. While the great powers had been fighting each other, they'd grown complacent. Their military doctrine assumed they would always face enemies using similar technology and tactics. They weren't prepared for humanity's completely different approach to warfare. "Commodore Kim," Park said, "I'm assigning you to lead our first major offensive operation. Target the Valkyrie supply depot at Kepler Station." Ji-Hai felt her heart race. Kepler Station was deep in enemy territory, surrounded by Valkyrie patrols and defense platforms. It was also the main supply hub for 3 entire sectors of Valkyrie space. Destroying it would cripple the alien empire's ability to wage war. "What ships do I get?" she asked. 40 of our best vessels, plus the new experimental ship, TDS Busan. Dr. Nam's people have been working on something special for her. Dr. Woojin Nam smiled as he pulled up technical specifications for the Busan. "Commodore, your new ship carries humanity's first faster-than-light siege weapon. Instead of having to get close to your target, you can destroy it from another star system entirely." The technology was based on captured alien equipment, but improved with human engineering. The siege weapon could punch through space itself, delivering devastating attacks across impossible distances. While Ji-Hai prepared for her mission, Colonel Minho Jang was leading a different kind of operation. His Marines, now equipped with Aegis-class powered armor, were conducting lightning raids on Valkyrie prisoner camps throughout the sector. "Remember," Jang told his troops as they prepared to board their assault ships, "these camps hold thousands of civilians from dozens of different species. Some have been prisoners for years. They're going to be scared, confused, and possibly hostile. Treat them like refugees, not enemies." Commander Haewon Shin led the first assault team into the prison camp on Vega 7th. Her Aegis suit's sensors showed over 3,000 life forms inside the facility, guarded by only 50 Valkyrie soldiers. The aliens had never expected a rescue mission this deep in their territory. "Aegis 1 to all units," Haewon transmitted. "Remember minimum force against guards. We want prisoners alive for interrogation." The battle was over in minutes. Valkyrie soldiers were tough, but they weren't prepared to fight opponents who could jump over buildings and punch through armored walls. The few survivors surrendered immediately when they realized they were facing the same powered armor that had devastated their ground forces at Earth. Inside the prison facility, Haewon found species she'd never seen before. The Valkyrie had been collecting slaves from across the galaxy, using them for dangerous work in mines and factories. Many of the prisoners had been held for so long they'd given up hope of ever being free. Who are you?" asked a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. "Are you Valkyrie? New guards?" "No," Haewon said gently, her armor's speakers making her voice sound reassuring instead of mechanical. "We're humans from Earth. We're here to rescue you." "Humans?" The creature's eyes widened. "But humans are primitive." "Everyone knows that." "Not anymore," A1 replied. "We're taking you somewhere safe." The rescued prisoners were transported to a hidden human base where Dr. Han and her medical team treated their injuries and trauma. Many of the aliens had been worked nearly to death. Others showed signs of mental damage from years of brutal treatment. But something amazing happened when the former prisoners learned about Earth's war against the Valkyrie. Instead of asking to be taken to their homeworlds, many volunteered to join the human fleet. "My world is gone," explained a tall, thin alien with silver skin. "The Valkyrie destroyed it 5 years ago. But if you're fighting them, then I want to help." Similar conversations were happening throughout the base. Earth's alliance wasn't just growing because of political agreements. It was growing because humanity offered something the galaxy hadn't seen in decades: hope. Meanwhile, Commodore Kim's fleet approached Kepler Station using a route that should have been impossible. The TDS Busan's new drive system could travel through dimensions that normal ships couldn't reach, allowing the human fleet to appear anywhere without warning. "Commodore," Lieutenant Commander Du-Hyun Lee reported from his position on the Busan's bridge, "sensors show the station has minimal defenses." "Looks like they weren't expecting visitors. Why would they?" Chief Engineer So Young Choi added. "Kepler Station is hundreds of light years from the nearest battle zone. They probably think it's completely safe." They were wrong. The TDS Busan dropped out of its dimensional transit directly above the station. Before the Valkyrie could react, the ship's experimental siege weapon fired once. The energy beam punched through space-time itself, delivering the destructive power of a small star directly into the station's core. Kepler Station exploded in a flash of light visible from 3 star systems away. With it went the supplies needed to feed, fuel, and arm the Valkyrie forces in 3 entire sectors of space. "Target destroyed," Do-Hyun reported, his voice filled with satisfaction. "All enemy vessels in the area are requesting permission to surrender." "Granted," Ji-Hai ordered. "Take prisoners, capture their ships, and see what intelligence we can gather." Back on Earth, Intelligence Director Bo-Ram Che was analyzing reports from across the galaxy. The news wasn't all good. While Earth's alliance was growing stronger, the 3 galactic powers were starting to take notice. "Admiral," she briefed Park, "our sources indicate that the Helix Confederation and Nomad clans are both developing plans to invade human space. They initially saw our war with the Valkyrie as useful, but now they're concerned about our growing power." "How long before they act?" "The Helix are known for careful planning. Probably 6 months before they make a move. The Nomads are more impulsive. They might attack within weeks." Park studied the strategic situation. Earth was winning its war against the Valkyrie, but success brought new problems. The other galactic powers wouldn't let humanity grow strong enough to threaten their own dominance. "What about our new allies?" Park asked. "Can we count on their support if we face multiple enemies?" "Absolutely," Bo-Ram replied. "The species that have joined us are completely committed. They know that if Earth falls, they'll all be enslaved or destroyed. This isn't just about territory anymore. It's about survival." That evening, Park addressed the Terran High Command with a sobering assessment. "We've proven that humanity can fight and win against the galactic powers. But our success has made us a target for all of them. The real war is just beginning." Defense Minister Jae Sung, who had argued for surrender just weeks before, now spoke with firm resolve. "Then we'd better get ready for it." "What do you need?" "More ships, more weapons, and more allies," Park replied. "And we need to hit our enemies before they can coordinate against us." Colonel Jang leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we take the offensive?" "I'm suggesting we end this war before our enemies can start the next one," Park said. "Humanity didn't ask for this fight, but we're going to finish it." The decision was unanimous. Earth would no longer wait for attacks. Earth would carry the war to its enemies. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they stopped holding back. 6 months after the first Valkyrie attack on Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the TDS Gwangbok, humanity's most advanced warship. Through the main screen, he could see the most important battle in galactic history about to begin. Helix Prime hung in space like a jewel, its massive orbital cities glowing with the light of billions of inhabitants. It was the center of galactic government, the meeting point where all 3 major powers conducted their most important business. Today, it would be the place where their war finally ended. Admiral, Commodore Ji-Hai Kim reported from her position at the tactical station. All 3 enemy fleets are in position. The Valkyrie have brought everything they have left. The Helix and Nomads have done the same. Park nodded grimly. The 3 galactic powers had finally done what they'd never managed in 15 years of war. They had united against a common enemy. Humanity's rapid expansion and growing alliance had terrified them into cooperation. Unfortunately for them, it was too late. Fleet status? Park asked. 500 human vessels ready for combat, Ji-Hai replied. 300 allied ships from 47 different species. Enemy forces number approximately 1,500 ships total. The numbers looked bad for the human alliance, but numbers weren't everything. Earth's fleet was equipped with technology the enemy couldn't match, tactics they couldn't predict, and something even more powerful, a cause worth dying for. Captain Dongwu Cho of the Terran Diplomatic Corps had spent the last 6 months traveling to every corner of the galaxy, offering protection to neutral worlds in exchange for joining Earth's alliance. His message was simple. Humanity fought for freedom, not conquest. Admiral, Dongwu transmitted from his diplomatic vessel. I've got final confirmation from the Outer Rim worlds. They're with us. Even if we lose today, the independence movement will continue. That was humanity's greatest achievement. In just 6 months, Earth had transformed from an ignored backwater into the center of a galactic revolution. Dozens of species that had been enslaved or oppressed for centuries now had hope for the first time. The enemy fleet began its advance. War Commander Valdris led what remained of the Valkyrie forces, his pride still burning from his defeat at Earth. The Helix Confederation sent their most advanced ships, controlled by their collective consciousness. The Nomad clans brought their fastest raiders and most experienced pirates. They're moving to surround us, Lieutenant Commander Do-Hyun Lee observed from the sensor station. Classic envelopment pattern. They want to prevent us from escaping. Park smiled coldly. We're not here to escape. Signal all ships. Execute Operation Liberation. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each one targeting a different enemy force. Instead of trying to fight all 3 powers at once, Park's strategy was to defeat them one at a time using superior coordination and technology. Commodore Kim led the first attack against the Valkyrie. Her ships moved in perfect formation, their new stealth systems making them nearly invisible until the moment they opened fire. The Valkyrie found themselves fighting an enemy they could barely see. Their shields are adapting to our weapons, Do-Hyun reported. But Chief So-Young's modifications are working. Our energy output is staying ahead of their defensive capabilities. Chief Engineer So-Young Choi had spent months studying captured enemy technology, learning how their defenses worked so she could design weapons to overcome them. Every human ship carried weapons specifically designed to kill its target. Commander Hai-Wan Shin led the marine assault on the Helix command ships. Her Aegis armor had been upgraded with new weapons and systems based on alien technology. The 15-foot-tall mechanical suits moved through space like armored angels, boarding enemy vessels and capturing their control centers. Aegis 1 to Fleet Command, Hai-Wan transmitted as her suit tore through a Helix ship's hull. I'm reading massive data flows between their ships. Their collective consciousness is their strength, but it's also their weakness. If we can disrupt their communications, their entire fleet becomes helpless. Dr. Wu Jin Nam had anticipated this. His latest creation was a quantum disruptor that could interfere with the exotic particles the Helix used for faster-than-light communication. When the device activated, the Helix fleet suddenly went silent. Direct hit on their command network, So-Young reported. The Helix ships are no longer coordinating. They're fighting as individual vessels now. Without their collective consciousness, the Helix were just ordinary aliens flying advanced ships. They had never learned to think for themselves, to adapt to changing situations, to make decisions without guidance from their central authority. Colonel Minho Jang led the ground assault on Helix Prime itself. His Marines were no longer just human soldiers. The Alliance fleet included warriors from dozens of species, all fighting together against their former oppressors. "This is for my homeworld," growled a massive reptilian warrior as he and Jang's troops stormed a Helix command center. "This is for my people." The battle cry was taken up by soldiers from across the galaxy. Humans fought alongside aliens they'd never seen before, united by their desire for freedom. The old divisions between species meant nothing when faced with a common enemy. The nomad clans tried to use their traditional hit-and-run tactics, but Earth's sensor network tracked them everywhere they went. Captain Kim's pursuit squadrons hunted the alien raiders through the asteroid fields and gas clouds around Helix Prime, destroying them one by one. "They can't hide from us," Do-hyun observed. "Our sensor technology is too advanced. Every time they try to escape, we know exactly where they're going." But the real turning point came when Dr. Nam activated his final surprise. The quantum disruptor network didn't just affect Helix communications, it could disrupt any faster-than-light system. When the field expanded to full power, every enemy ship in the battle zone suddenly lost power. "All enemy vessels are dead in space," So Young reported with satisfaction. "Their engines are offline, their weapons are offline. Their life support is running on backup power only." War Commander Valdris found himself trapped on a powerless ship, surrounded by human vessels that seemed immune to the weapon that had disabled his fleet. His warrior's pride finally broke. "Human fleet," he transmitted on emergency power. "The Valkyrie Empire requests terms for surrender." Similar messages came from the Helix and Nomad commanders. The three powers that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were defeated, their fleets captured or destroyed, their leaders facing war crimes trials. President Soo-Jin Lee arrived at Helix Prime aboard a diplomatic vessel to oversee the aftermath of the battle. The president had been elected just 3 months earlier, after Admiral Park stepped down from military command to return to his role as a defender rather than a conqueror. "Admiral Park," she said as they met in the captured Helix Command Center, "the Galactic Assembly is ready to convene. Representatives from over 200 worlds want to establish new laws for interstellar relations." Park looked out at the liberated orbital cities of Helix Prime, where former slaves were celebrating in the streets. "What are they proposing?" "A democratic federation. Equal representation for all species, protection for neutral worlds, and an end to the practice of enslaving or exterminating other races." It was everything humanity had hoped for when the war began. A galaxy where strength was used to protect the weak instead of exploiting them, where different species could coexist without fear of conquest or slavery. The first Galactic Assembly meeting took place on Earth, in a specially built facility that could accommodate representatives from hundreds of different species. Admiral Park gave the opening address, speaking to delegates who 6 months earlier would have dismissed humans as primitive and irrelevant. 6 months ago, Earth was a neutral world that just wanted to be left alone, Park said. "Today we stand as proof that no species is too small to make a difference. That freedom is worth fighting for. That the strong have a duty to protect the weak." The applause came from beings with claws, tentacles, wings, and appendages that humans had no names for. But despite their differences, they all understood the message. The Assembly's first act was to establish the Terran Federation, not as an empire ruled by humans, but as an alliance of free worlds committed to mutual defense and cooperation. Earth would be the capital, but every member species would have an equal voice in government. The second act was to put the leaders of the 3 former galactic powers on trial for crimes against sentient beings. The trials would be fair and public, with evidence presented by the species they had oppressed. The final act was to establish the Federation Defense Force, with Admiral Park as its first commander. The new military would exist not to conquer, but to prevent any future attempt at galactic domination. As the assembly concluded, Admiral Kim found herself assigned to lead the first joint patrol with former enemies. The crew of her new ship included humans, reformed Valkyrie, liberated Helix drones who had learned to think for themselves, and even some Nomad clan members who preferred Federation law to piracy. Admiral, her new tactical officer, a former Valkyrie warrior named Thek, who had renounced his empire's ways, reported, "We're receiving a distress call from the Outer Rim. Pirates are attacking a colony ship." Kim smiled. This was exactly why the Federation existed.